Beetlejuice Beetlejuice was another sequel that no one asked for after a very long time from the original. Overall, it was decent. I would say if you liked the first one, you'll probably like this one. You get to expand on the world of the afterlife. The humor is still very quirky, very Tim Burton, and you get some good characters and good performances. Michael Keaton is still really fun as Beetlejuice. Winona Ryder's character, Lydia, continues her story from the first one in a way that I think makes sense, which is nice. Overall, I'd say it's inoffensive as far as these type of things go. Plot-wise, it tries to do way too much. I'm going to try to keep it vague, but there might be spoilers if you care for a movie like this. But you have a plot in the real world, and this one is Winona Ryder and Jenna Ortega's, who are Lydia and Astrid, mother-daughter. And then you have the afterlife plot between Beetlejuice, Dolores, played by Monica Bellucci, who is Beetlejuice's ex-wife from a few hundred years ago, and Willem Dafoe, who's an afterlife police officer. What you end up with is where the first movie was a pretty simple and tight story, despite the crazy aesthetics and the crazy world and that sort of thing. This one, you end up with a story that's a lot more complicated, and it's trying to do, I would say, 4 storylines at one time. So the 4 storylines that you have are the movie starts off, Lydia has become like one of those ghost hunters on TV, but obviously she can actually see ghosts and she's gotten rich off of it. So she's estranged from her daughter, Astrid. Astrid is pissed off at Lydia and blames her for the death of her father, who she was very close to. In the afterlife, Dolores escapes. Her body was cut up into pieces and she was kind of just put in storage. And she wants revenge on Beetlejuice because he killed her after she poisoned him in the real world or their regular lives. So on the afterlife side, you've got Willem Dafoe playing Wolf Jackson, the afterlife cop, trying to protect Beetlejuice and hunt down Dolores. And then on the other side, you've got Astrid, who's trying to keep her distance from her mom, and she's kind of a bitch to her. And you've got Lydia, who's trying to get over her PTSD of the first movie. And she's also got Rory, played by Justin Theroux, trying to marry her. He does a good job playing a douche, as always. He's very obviously a shyster throughout the whole movie. So you've got all these plots together, and they try to tie them in all at the end. And with a short movie, because it's only an hour and 40 minutes, not including credits, so probably an hour 30, you end up with kind of like an hour of setup, and they try to quickly close up all these plots in the last half hour. So it just feels like a lot. And then the world building for the afterlife probably doesn't make any sense if you think about it. I don't know if I would say it's a huge issue, but it does make sense in the first one. Like, it establishes very clear rules. You see how the time distortion works on Saturn or one of Saturn's moons in the desert. You see how the dead people interact with the living. So it's all simple and doesn't answer every question, but it's kind of laid out what the basic rules are. And this one, you've got Dolores, who's a soul sucker, and Beetlejuice, who is very powerful in the first one, is essentially a god in this one. While I wouldn't get too nitpicky with the plot making sense, you do end up with a lot of contrivances and kind of bullshit as far as like the quote unquote serious part of the story goes. And it kind of rehashes the same plot as the first one, where Lydia needs to use Beetlejuice and you're supposed to be rooting for her, but also you want her to use Beetlejuice and not let him back into our world. So that's kind of the basic premise, but it's done much worse than this one, I think. The humor I thought was pretty good. Definitely one of those things that you'll just have to see for yourself if you like it. But I think it's very in the vein of the first one. So I would say that most people that like the first one will probably like the humor in the second one. Definitely some dark stuff. But Tim Burton is always great at making things that are dark not be tonally dark for the audience, even if they are in their world. Obviously, Nightmare Before Christmas, Corpse Bride, you have similar things going on with those. The music by Danny Elfman, he's always good. I really like the style of the afterlife. Very Tim Burton. Some of the characters, I'm like 95% sure, were ripped straight from Nightmare Before Christmas for the design. So it has a very distinct feel. They add in a whole bunch of different elements that, again, probably don't make too much sense if you think about them, but they're cool and they're pretty different from each other in the movie. Catherine O'Hara, who plays Delia, is hilarious. I think she's always funny, and she always plays like these kind of uppity, stuck-up douchebag characters, like in Schitt's Creek, but she does it so well that it pretty much always works for me when I see her. There was one kind of weird thing in the movie, and it's kind of a culture war thing. That's why I'm saving it for last. And the reason I'm saying it's weird and not good or bad is because I don't know if it's deliberate or if they were trying to be sort of pro-feminist but butchering it. So Astrid's character is like very openly a feminist. She mentions being a climate change activist, that her dad was trying to save the rainforest type. And the reason I'm saying I don't know if it's deliberate is because they kind of make her out to be a pretty big dick in the movie. Like, I actually think the most sympathetic character is probably Lydia, because she's going through PTSD from the first movie. And she's taking pills, and you can see she's really struggling with it. She's never gotten over being able to see ghosts. She feels guilty because she can't see her dead husband's ghost. So there's a lot going on with her. Obviously, her daughter ignores her, so she's pretty upset about that. Even though she's not really done anything wrong, she's just struggling with a traumatic experience. But then pretty much everyone else is a dick. Obviously, with like Delia's character, it's deliberate. Like, there's a realtor woman in the movie who says something very kind of activist-y, but then her character is also portrayed as being an annoying like snob type. And it's Tim Burton, who in general I think is kind of anti-elitist in his movies. Of course, that's ironic given what I'm sure he's worth, but whatever. So you're getting these feminist messages from Astrid. Like, she dresses up as the woman Marie Curie for Halloween after her experiments because she discovered radiation, obviously made herself sick. So she's like promoting that sort of thing. And she's got a couple lines throughout the movie that are pretty blatant, I would say. But then her character is also kind of portrayed as the asshole, even though she's one of the two protagonists. And obviously she thinks Lydia is crazy and a fraud. So her character is supposed to be wrong in the end. I'm not exactly sure what he was going for there. Obviously Tim Burton's probably not the anti-SJW type or a right winger or anything like that. But he is kind of just an odd guy. So with him, I just don't know. He might find a lot of that shit annoying. I have no clue. But then on top of that, pretty much all the men in the movie are idiots or assholes, which makes me think it is supposed to be kind of a feminist movie. Like, literally every guy in the movie is a dick or just a complete retard. So kind of weird messaging there. I don't think any of it's so egregious that it takes away from the movie, really. I just kind of wanted to point it out because a lot of people tend to worry about that now going into every movie. The Critical Drinker literally has the message as a slogan because it's so common in movies now. I like to at least address it if I have to. But yeah, overall, I think it's worth seeing. It's decently fun. I wouldn't call it a great movie. Probably not better than the first. But it's not some colossal waste of time. I don't think it destroys the first one or anything. It kind of just picks up where it left off and does less of a good job as a movie. I'm trying not to be too spoilery because it just came out, but I wanted to at least give my overall thoughts on it. So I'm going to leave it here for this one. I stream on Sundays at noon Eastern if you're interested. I re-upload the streams to my second channel, Filthy Casual Live. The link's in the description. I have a Discord now, also in the description. If you're still here, like and subscribe and all that shit. Thanks. See ya.